What's up, everybody? Hope you're doing absolutely awesome out there. Thank you so much for coming back to join me for another video. And in this video, we are talking about the MHW-3Bomber Sniper Electric Conical Burr Coffee Grinder. That is a mouthful. So first, before we get into anything else, I do want to say MHW-3Bomber did send me this grinder for free to check out, to test, to play with, to have, but that is not influencing my review in any way, just like normal. They're not paying me. They don't get to see this video, before you guys do. So these are my true thoughts on this grinder, and the normal thing I do here. One other thing I want to address before we really dive into this is the obvious similarities that this has from an appearance standpoint and a little bit from an internal standpoint to the Varia VS3. Now, I don't have a Varia VS3. I haven't had one. I haven't played with one, but I've seen plenty of them. I know people that have them. I did reach out to MHW-3Bomber, talk to my contact there. He assured me that they designed this grinder from the ground up in-house. They have no connection with Varia. They are manufactured in different, manufacturing plants, all that sort of stuff. They did inform me that their burrs are proprietary, designed by them in-house. So take that, for what you will, I guess. That's what they're telling me. I do see the obvious similarities between this and the Varia VS3. Not saying it's a copy or a ripoff, but it is strikingly similar. Outside of the name, I do like the grinder. I think overall the finish on it is very nice. It has kind of like a powder coated textured black finish. I don't believe you can get them in any other color. I've only seen it in black, and it's only on their website in black. But I like black grinders, as you can see, minus the white one there, which we'll talk about in a different video. You get a walnut wood lid here with magnets on it, which is awesome. The use of magnets on this grinder is really cool. You do get options for lids. So they give you this metal one, which also has magnets. And they also give you this clear one so you can see down in the grind chamber as the beans are grinding. This one does not have magnets in it, which, no big deal. It's not really going to go anywhere. It's got kind of a stepped lip and it fits down inside here nicely. I like this. This is pretty cool to be able to, throw this on here and be able to watch, what's going on in the grinder. I mean, we all kind of know what happens inside the grind chamber of a grinder, but it's a cool option. I like the fact that they give you those options and you're not just stuck with one thing. The other thing that they give you is this nice brush here, which I've been using not only for this, but for some of my other grinders and just my coffee, setup in general. They also give you a little blower here so you can, blow, clean it off, all that. I've also been using this for other grinders and on my bar as well. It comes in handy. So it's really cool that they give you these as a cleaning option. A lot of grinders come with brushes and stuff, but this is actually a pretty nice brush. I like that it's big. A lot of grinders come with like these little tiny brushes. So definitely, some points here for a little bit nicer quality sort of cleaning and accessories that come with the Sniper. It's solid aluminum. It looks like it's machined or milled from one solid piece of aluminum. Or maybe, CNC'd or something like that. They've got the back cut out here, recessed for this wood panel, which is nice. Your power button is right here on the side. And then you'll notice there's no cord coming out of this. And you have a DC, style input jack here for the power cord, which I like the fact that the power cord is detachable and it's not, attached. However, like a lot of people's gripes, it comes with a power pack, sort of thing like this, and a very, very long, I have it plugged in down there, but this thing's super long. It's probably like 7 or 7.5 feet long. I just wish there was a better way for not only this grinder, but a lot of other grinders to do power cords. So hopefully maybe that's something we'll see change going forward. I don't really have any like major problems with this other than, it is a little bit bulky and it's really long. So there's a lot of cable to kind of wind up and keep bundled up out of the way. But is what it is. The catch cup here and the grind's exit chute or the grind chamber chute here is magnetic, which is nice for cleaning. You can take it off. You can, if you get any little fines or chaff or anything in here, you can pull this off very easily. It just magnetizes right back on there. And then the dosing cup also magnetizes right onto there. It's not like a super strong magnet. It does have a rubber pad on the bottom, which is really nice. It doesn't, it's not super loud and it doesn't scratch the finish on the grinder here, which again, this seems like it's powder coated. It's probably pretty durable finish anyways. I do wish the magnet was a little bit stronger for this, but again, it's not one of those things that's like that big a deal. Another place where you will find magnets is in this kind of adjustment indicator ring on here. There's magnets in the surface here, there's magnets here, and there's also a collar, kind of a lip that goes down in and really secures that into there. The only gripe I have with this indicator, where the dot is on here, is that it never lines up with any of the lines on the adjustment dial. So if, you know, as you're making adjustments, it's always in between. I will probably make my own little mark on there. You could essentially turn this around, magnetize it differently, and just make your own, you know, mark on here to better line up with the lines on yours. So that's kind of a weird thing. You know, I don't know why they wouldn't make that line up. It seems like a very simple thing to just put a little bit more attention to detail on. One other thing that I like about this grinder is that it is stepless. However, it does have clicked sort of stepped adjustments. Now you can go in between those and it will hold its position. So it's not like there's really a fear of it slipping into one detent or the other on the side of, you know, being in the middle of one of those if you did want to, you know, have more finite adjustment as you would with the stepless. Now this is advertised as a stepless grinder, but again, there's detents in here that sort of make it feel like it is a stepped grinder. If you're going to advertise something as stepless, I feel like it should be pretty obvious and a lot more stepless than that. Going back to what I was saying about this being very similar to the Varia VS3, I don't know if they're using the same motor. I know they're not using the same burrs. Obviously, this is a 48 millimeter conical burr. The Varia is a 38 millimeter conical burr. This is a heptagonal 7-sided burr. I don't know if they're just using an off-the-shelf burr or if they used an off-the-shelf design and made some minor changes to it on their own. I haven't really compared it to any other burrs, although it does look very, very, very similar to the burrs in my Kin Grinder K6. So as far as the motor goes, everything that I'm seeing says it's a 15 watt motor, which obviously is not accurate, I don't believe. Maybe it's supposed to be 150 watt. Maybe they accidentally left the 0 off of there. I've not had a problem with it stalling, even going like all the way fine and using pretty light roasted, dense, you know, stuff. That being said, I don't know if the, you know, gearbox assembly or the drive assembly is the same as the Varia, and I know and have heard that some of those Varias are having problems with the gearbox assembly or the drive assembly on the motor. So I don't know if they're the same. Again, I was told they're not the same grinder, but something to be aware of, something to consider. But again, I couldn't really find any specs on the motor. If you know or happen to find that information, make sure you leave it down in the comments so we can all, you know, learn from that. Like I said, I looked on their website, I looked in the manual that came with the grinder, I did some other, you know, just Google searching, and I couldn't find anything other than their listed 15 watts, which I don't believe is accurate. So I know that the Varia RPM is 160. I don't know what this is. I couldn't find it listed anywhere. Once again, I would assume it's probably around the same. It looks to be about the same, and it's a pretty slow RPM. But again, I couldn't find any spec on that. So again, if you happen to know, leave it down in the comments so we can all know that. As far as the sound this grinder makes, it's not too bad when you're not grinding, but it is kind of loud and a little high pitched when you are grinding beans. So as far as performance and workflow goes, I don't really have anything to complain about. Again, I already touched on this a little bit from a performance perspective. It's been fine. I've been grinding, you know, pretty fine for espresso with lighter roasted coffees, and I haven't had it stall on me or do anything weird. So, I mean, obviously it's strong enough to be grinding that sort of stuff at a normal capacity. I'm not slow feeding it or anything like that. No real issues with workflow there or performance, I guess I would say. So if you're like me and you like to hot start grinders, which is where you have the grinder already running as you start to feed in your beans, then you may be a little disappointed with this grinder. It popcorns a lot. The first time I used the grinder, I had the lid off and I was putting beans in here with it running, and it was literally just popcorning, you know, chunks of coffee beans all over the place. So I have been cold starting this grinder. I've been just putting my, you know, 15, 18, you know, whatever gram dose I'm using. I've been putting up in the chamber, putting the lid on it, and then turning the button on and grinding it. Again, I haven't had any problems, no stalling, no, you know, grind performance issues. I haven't noticed any difference in like particle distribution by cold starting it or hot starting it. So I don't think there's any real issue there. I'm just accustomed to hot starting, and I prefer to hot start a grinder if possible. But again, cold starting this, I haven't had any issues. So the grind chamber capacity is 15 to 30 grams, which has been fine for me. I know for some of you out there, you may need more capacity, and in that case, you would either just have to grind multiple times, or maybe this isn't the grinder for you. I typically, for filter, am brewing about 15 grams, sometimes 18 grams, and for espresso, I'm typically usually doing 18 grams, sometimes 20 grams, depending on what I'm doing. So far, I haven't had an issue with this grinder's hopper capacity. So with 18 grams of coffee at setting 16, which is where I've had good luck with this grinder on espresso, is 35 seconds, almost exactly. It was 35:05 to grind 18 grams. Now, I did weigh the dosing cup before, and I did put exactly 18 grams in here. I haven't done any RDT, and I haven't done bellows, so let's see what the retention is. I got 17.8 out. So 0.2 grams, which is, pretty consistent with what I've been seeing with this grinder. Let's grind for filter, see how long that takes. So at a filter grind setting of around 60 and 15 gram dose, it was about 16.88 seconds. So let's call it 17 seconds. Oh, looks like we got some retention there. I did weigh the dosing cup. Actually, it's right at 15. So again, no retention, just a little bit of chaff, I guess, is all that was. So for Espresso Brewing, MHW-3Bomber recommends a setting size of 20 to 40 clicks. I've been around 16, but that could just be, differences obviously in the type of coffee I'm using, the dose amount, the espresso machine I'm using, all those things play a factor. So it would just be, personal to you, what you're doing, where there's no right or wrong setting. It's wherever the grinder is set to make the coffee that you're getting and you're enjoying, utilizing the coffee you like and the equipment you have. So there's no right or wrong there, but again, 20 to 40 is what they recommend for espresso. I'm at around 60 for filter. They recommend 70 to 100. I do mainly brew in the Oria V3, which is a pretty fast flowing brewer, as most of you know. So being a little on the finer side or even under what they're recommended, 70 to 100 clicks for filter makes sense, since the Oria does flow faster. Again, it's all personal preference. There's no right or wrong grind setting. You just have to get it. If this is something you're interested in, play with it with your setup, with the coffees that you like brewing. And when you get what you get and you're happy with it, that's where you set it. It's very good. Very bright, good acidity, nice sweetness. The texture is good. Usually you get a little bit more body or a little bit more texture, sort of mouthfeel with a conical burr grinder. That's a good cup of coffee. This is really good. Actually, I prefer this coffee with this grinder on espresso way more than I prefer the filter brew of it. Really good juiciness, good acidity, really good sweetness. The mouthfeel, texture, body, whatever you want to call it, is very good. It's not like crazy thick and syrupy, but it's just kind of like got a good enough textured body to kind of coat the inside of your mouth. Man, that's actually really good. It's very good. I'm impressed. I've been pulling shots with this grinder and making filter brews, obviously, for the several weeks I've had it now. This is honestly probably one of the better shots. This was at grind setting 16, and this is very tasty. If I was to get this shot as like just a straight shot of espresso, or even in a latte or like a one-on-one or something like that at a shop, I would be very happy with that. The filter brew is good. Obviously not the best filter coffee I've ever had. It's not the best filter brew of this particular coffee I've ever had, but it's decent. Do I think this grinder is worth $400? Part of me feels like it's a little pricey for what it is, and maybe if it was more like in the $299 range, I feel like that would be a really good buy. I think this is a great looking grinder. Again, the build quality, fit, finish, all that stuff seems to be really nice. I have no real major overall, complaints with it. A couple of little quirky workflow things, a couple of little OCD things like with the dial indicator not lining up on the tick marks that sort of bother me. But at the end of the day, those things don't necessarily change, obviously, the flavor profile and the way it tastes and the way it grinds and how it performs. So I guess I'll leave you with those thoughts. You can come to your own decision, come to your own conclusion, make your own decision on whether or not you think this grinder is worth the $399 or $400. And whether it's worth it for you. Check out the links in the description if you have any interest in picking one of these up or learning a little bit more about it, or checking out other products that MHW-3Bomber offers. And we will catch you on the next video. Take care.